What is going on, guys? Horizon here, and today we are going to begin with an important question. Do your recoveries look like this? Or this? And what about this?
Oh gosh, darn it, how do you get out of the net?
Throughout our Rocket League careers, we have inevitably experienced recoveries that feel pretty similar to what you just saw. And today I'm going to cover my top 5 tips for recoveries in Rocket League. And as always, if you guys are enjoying the content and you feel like making somebody's day today, please consider clicking that bright red subscribe button right down below this video. It really does help me out a lot more than you guys realize, and I really do appreciate it. With all that said, let's jump right on in. Now, rule number 1 for recoveries is the base that we will build all additional pieces of recoveries on. And rule number 1 is very simply, always land on your wheels. Regardless of the situation you're in, you always have to land on your wheels. Now, what this kind of does is it forces you to utilize air roll a lot. Because if you don't air roll, you're just going to end up flopping onto your roof a lot. Example, like this. Without using air roll, you're just going to fly onto your roof. So, we want to utilize air roll anytime we are falling or anytime we're landing on any surface to make sure that we're actually landing on our wheels and not putting ourselves in really awkward recovery situations where we're landing on the roof of our cars and sliding all over the place. Because, as you might expect, sliding all over the place, whilst it might look kinda cool, is not beneficial for recovering quickly. Now, a good way you might want to practice this is just going up to the ceiling and just letting yourself fall off the top of the ceiling and making sure you get used to air rolling down to the ground and landing on your wheels. Additionally, you can fly off any of the surfaces, any of the walls, and just work on air rolling back down to the ground. From various heights, just making sure that you get used to always landing on your wheels anytime you land on the surface. Same thing goes for the walls. You can practice jumping onto the walls, aerialing up to the walls, making sure we're landing on our wheels on every surface, just getting used to always air rolling to our wheels, regardless of what surface we're landing on. This will greatly impact the speed at which we can recover and make everything work a lot smoother. Now that we have the main building block of recoveries established, we want to make sure that we're never making it more difficult for ourselves than it needs to be to land on our wheels. Now, a huge culprit of that is when the ball is near the wall. Now, traditionally, when the ball's in the midfield, most of the time we have this desire to flip at the ball to add pace to it. And that's really good in the midfield. However, where it's not good is when the ball is against the wall. And the reason is, if we flip into this ball as it comes down, well, now it makes it a lot harder to recover quickly because we are landing with our roof hitting the wall. And as you might expect, that ain't too good. So instead of, when the ball is close to the wall, flipping into it, like that, and being really slow to recover, even if you do land on your wheels after bouncing off of it, if you have a free touch on the ball, you want to get used to just jumping and landing with our wheels on the wall and just hitting the ball with a single jump. We don't want to flip, we just want to come at the ball and just jump. See, it works just as well, and then we can follow the ball wherever it goes, instead of trying to force a flip, which then makes our recoveries a whole heck of a lot slower, because we land in a lot of awkward spots. So whenever the ball is near the wall, unless you're trying to win a 50 with an opponent, if you have a free touch, don't flip in it. It just makes things a whole lot harder than it needs to be. Just line the ball up and jump once, and then you can follow it wherever it goes, and we can make our lives a whole heck of a lot easier when we're trying to land on our wheels. Now that you have mentally committed yourself to stop flipping into the wall, we will need to master basic recovery mechanics. Now, in terms of recoveries, there are 4 mechanics that are inevitably the most important. There are power slide, there is wave dashes, there is half flips, and there is air roll. Now, the reason we want to master all of these is because these 4 skills is what allows us to recover the fastest. Because from any situation, if we hold power slide, we can keep our momentum going even if we are facing the wrong way. and it's really useful to hold Power Slide, and then be able to flip out of it, and be able to just carry on our merry way with the momentum we still have in tow. So, it's important to be able to master Power Slide, and be able to use that to recover quickly and maintain speed. Now, secondly is Air Roll. Now, with the whole concept of always landing on your wheels, you obviously can't do that unless you can Air Roll. Now, you don't need to know how to fly in the air with Air Roll and, like, control your path. That is not necessary. All you need to do is be able to Air Roll to get your wheels to land on a surface. So, for example, if you're Air Rolling along and you're heading towards the wall, you can rotate your wheels to land on the surface, allowing you to recover a lot faster. If you don't do that, and you end up backwards, this is what's going to happen. And that is a lot slower than just using your wheels, because you can accelerate a lot faster if you're on the ground than you can if you're floating in the air. So mastering Air Roll, even in its simplest form, is key to being able to recover quickly. So now let's combine those two basic mechanics with the more advanced ones in the terms of wave dashes and half flips. Now, wave dashes are incredibly useful, especially when you end up on the wall. We don't want to waste a whole lot of boost in driving all the way down the wall and trying to maintain speed. So instead, the faster way to get down the wall is to use a little bit of boost, jump off, Air Roll, and then wave dash. So this is a process that in the higher ranks you will use all the time. I do this at least probably 10 times a game, if not more. Just the same idea of jumping off the wall, Air Rolling my wheels to the ground, and wave dashing once I get there to get back up to full speed, without having to use a whole lot of boost at all. So this is the ideal way to dismount from the wall, rather than just driving all the way down. Especially if you end up higher up, you can still do this same idea, even if you're high on the wall, of using a little bit of boost to get down, and then using more boost once you're on the ground, as well as a wave dash to get up to speed. And again, to practice this, you can just drive around the field, getting used to going up the wall, jumping off. That was a really bad example. Going up the wall, pointing your nose down slightly, jumping off, boosting a tad to get back to the ground, and then wave dashing once you get there. And then, of course, we can turn around and go the other way as well, just to make sure we are not just training one direction, because that is another thing that is very bad. Just like in traditional sports, you don't want to just train one side of things, because then you can't do it the other direction. You'd love to be able to just master it both ways, so that you can do it in whatever situation you find yourself in. And then last but not least, you have half flips. Now, half flips are really useful when you're pushed up the field and the ball gets hit over your head, to be able to half flip back to get in position to play defense. Because if you can't do this half flip, you have to all of a sudden turn around, which takes a lot longer than just being able to flip backwards into position that you need to be in. Half flips can also be really useful in the case that you get bumped, just being able to maintain your speed and carry on in the direction that you're getting bumped into, rather than having to completely slow down, and now you're just bumped and you're kind of stopping like this, and now you gotta get momentum back up. By maintaining the ability to half flip, you can kind of just carry on in the direction that you're heading, even in awkward situations like being bumped when your car is thrown into awkward directions that you're not really expecting. It does really help to be able to quickly adapt to the direction you're going and just carry on your momentum in that direction, rather than having to make some awkward adjustments and just kind of fully stop your momentum in order to get yourself turned around. Half flips are a great recovery mechanic and are extremely useful in terms of many situations that you will find yourself in on the field in every single game you play. So half flips and wave dashes are definitely two of the most important mechanics to master, and the earlier you master them, the bigger advantage you will have against your opposition. So recoveries are great and all when you have full control of the situation, but a lot of times when you need to be able to recover quickly is when you're not exactly mentally prepared to do it in that moment. And what I mean is when you're getting bumped around the field. So if I'm just driving along and I get bumped as I jump into the air, I'm going to get sent flying, because I already have upward momentum, so an opponent bumping me in addition to that is going to propel me with more upward momentum. So in that scenario, we immediately need to recognize what situation we're in. And that recognition comes in the form of, did I single jump, or did I double jump, or did I not jump at all? Now if you got bumped off a surface and you didn't use any jumps yourself, so for example you're on the wall, you have one jump to use at any time you want because you didn't initialize the jump sequence. In that situation, it is important to recognize where you're going and how you can get back into the play as quickly as possible. For example, if I get boomed off this wall and get sent flying, I'm not going to do my team much good if I land down here and now have to make my way all the way back. However, if I'm on this wall and I get bumped off and I immediately recognize to use my flip, I can get back to the ground and stay in the play a lot faster. So if you get bumped off a surface, just recognize, do I have my flip still? And if I do, let me use that in the most beneficial way to get back down to the ground and back into the play as fast as possible. The same thing rings true if you've initialized one jump and you get bumped before you use your second. So if I'm playing defense here and I make one jump but haven't used my second yet and get bumped, again, I don't want to go flying all the way down field because I am no use down here. Instead, if I get bumped after I jump once, I immediately want to use my second jump to get back down to the ground, because I will be much more beneficial if I'm down here than I am if I'm all the way over there. The only exception to this is if after getting bumped you are still in trajectory to make a play on the ball. If that's the case, obviously just don't stop flying and go back down to the ground just because you got bumped. Again, this is something that I am still struggling with. Very often I will find myself getting bumped and just sitting there and letting whatever happens, instead of recognizing that I still have some control over the play and have an ability to still be in a spot to help my team. Now, the contrary to this is when you get bumped after using your second jump. In that case, you're kind of screwed. But at that point, you just need to figure out where can I get to that will allow me to get back to defense or wherever I need to be as fast as possible. Because if you're double jumping and you get bumped, you're probably going to end up near the ceiling, which means that you will get a jump back off the ceiling that you can use to get back to the ground and get where you need to be quickly. And tip number 5 is all about following the direction of momentum. As Rocket League players, we are constantly thinking about where on the field we want to go next. The problem that some players have when they think about this is that they think that the direction they need to go is the direction they immediately need to be facing. So that's to say, if the ball is here on our defensive half after they went up for an aerial, so this is the situation we're looking at, players will land like this and then have to accelerate back up to speed to get back into the play. Instead, you could just land, follow the direction of momentum, and turn around like that. You will actually turn around faster by doing it this way than you will by fully stopping your momentum by landing the opposite direction and then having to speed back up. It is always best to maintain your momentum as much as possible, even if that means facing away from the play for a couple of seconds while you turn around and get back. There is no bigger culprit of this than in the net. So many times people will come in for a shot, they'll miss, and then they'll have this awkward interaction with the net as they try to figure out how to drive around and get out of the net. It can be very complicated. To simplify the process of getting out of the net, just follow the direction of momentum, up the top of the net, and come out the other side, regardless of what direction you need to go. So if I want to come to the left side of the field, I can face my car to the left and come out this way. If I want to go to the right side of the field, I can come in, face my car to the right, and come out that way. And that is a lot better than landing in the net and then making this like awkward turn around and then coming out now, and that is just a whole heck of a lot slower. The other option, if you're coming into the net high, is that you can air roll your wheels around so you land on the top part of the net and can drive out the bottom part. So you can do exactly the same thing, just the other way around. And again, this is a lot better than like landing up here like this and now trying to turn around and it's all weird and stuff. So just remember a general rule: whatever direction your car is facing, follow that momentum and just keep driving straight, and eventually you'll come out the way you want to go. If you start to try to make turns and things in the net, especially if you're lower ranked and you got ball cam on, this can get a little confusing trying to figure out which way you need to steer. So instead of doing this, just let yourself make the challenge, whatever that challenge may be. Come into the net, and just come out the other side straight, don't even bother turning, and you'll be back in the play just like that. And then the last part of following the momentum is just making sure that you're not landing facing vertically on walls. In most cases, landing like this on a wall is bad. You always want to follow the direction of momentum. So if you're coming at a wall, normally you will be coming down. So if you face your car down, you will have momentum coming down the wall, as such. Instead of coming at the wall and staying facing vertically, as now you have to turn around and drive down the wall. It is the inverse of the idea of what happens on the ground, because on the ground, you want to just stay facing the way you are and use your car's speed to bring it around and face the direction you want to. If you're coming at the wall, though, you have to fight gravity to climb the wall to be able to turn around. Gravity is already trying to pull you down, so if you use that gravity to your advantage, you will be able to dismount the wall a lot faster. So to summarize the general 5 rules of recovery. Number 1, always land on your wheels. Number 2, how do you do that? Faster recovery mechanics, air roll, power slide, wave dashes, and half flips. If you master all 4 of those, you will be able to land on your wheels with momentum in any situation you find yourself. Number 3, don't make it harder to land on your wheels than it needs to be. Number 4, you want to utilize your flips intelligently after you've been bumped. And lastly, tip number 5 is always follow the direction of momentum. So thank you everybody so much for watching, as I greatly appreciate it. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like, hit that subscribe button, and turn on notifications. If you guys have any video ideas, suggestions, anything like that, go ahead and throw those down in the comments below. As always, I look forward to checking those out. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you next time. See you later, guys. Thank you.